The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
Welcome back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my favorite panel and yours, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Mark Bound. Today we will be answering listener emails, and we have a question from Mike, who lives in Atlanta, Georgia. And Mike asks, last week ICE raided a Hyundai plant here in Georgia and detained over 400 people for allegedly living and working in the U.S. illegally. Most of those detained were South Koreans working in a South Korean manufacturing plant. It's being reported that the majority of these workers will be repatriated, but the work building the plant has come to a halt. First, could this sour relations between the U.S. and our close ally, South Korea? And could other foreign investors be thinking twice about building manufacturing plants in the U.S.? This plant would have created a lot of high-paying jobs for Georgians. Could this loss be used by Democrats to win back Georgia? Excellent question.
There's a bunch of stuff in that question, huh?
Yes.
There is a bunch of stuff in that question.
Yep.
So
a bunch of questions.
Can we start by talking about the incoherence of Trump's policies when it comes to immigration and
Absolutely.
Tariffs and people wanting companies to start building in the U.S. rather than in their own countries? This just seems to me to be so incoherent, because we said to Hyundai, we want you to build in America and not over there. And they come over here and they do that, but they bring some of their own over. And I don't know how many people are working. I think it was over 1,000 at this plant, which probably uses South Korean equipment. And probably you would need to know how to read South Korean to know how to make it all work. Yet you have a bunch of people who get arrested and thrown into like a camp, and now you're expect like other countries to go, oh yeah, we'll build in your country. It looks like Nazi Germany from where we're standing, but we'll work with you on that, because if you need to start telling people, well, you're going to go to the United States to work for a while, you may get arrested and you may end up in South Sudan or Uganda or the prison in El Salvador. But, roll with it. If that happens, we'll use diplomacy to get you out. Who in their right minds would do this? This is just crazy stuff. It's like one hand is going, give it to me, and the other hand is saying, I'm pushing you away. And at the same time, it doesn't make any sense.
As I understand it, this was a combination plant between Hyundai and LG, and they were building batteries. And because of the South Korean, and the plant had been begun under Biden, and work in this plant is very high end and sophisticated. And in order to get the work done, to get to the point where Americans could take over, the plant had to be brought to a certain point, because Americans are not trained to do this work. So Americans would have to be trained to do the work. However, a plant of this type, at least for the battery part, if you have a loose hair floating around, you have to shut the whole thing down. I mean, apparently it has to be like a sterile environment or something like this. And Americans are not trained or prepared to work in this type of environment with the South Korean technology that they brought over. So when Trump says, come over here and invest money, and the South Koreans wanted to do that, and of course they were pressured to do that, and they said, we'll continue, and we'll bring over this LG plant, get going with this, and we'll do it now, because South Korea have a very strong work ethic, even though the U.S. visa system and the work permit system is not moving quickly enough, and South Korea has been pressuring the U.S. government to expand the number of visas and to work more quickly itself to ensure that everyone at the plant and all the South Koreans who here have the appropriate paperwork. So on the one hand, the U.S. government is saying, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. But the U.S. immigration does not have enough paperwork and isn't working quickly enough itself. And of course, when you're firing a lot of federal workers who work in immigration and who do all the paperwork, you're not going to have the staff to get the paperwork done. So, as you say, Scott, this is chaotic and incoherent. So on the one hand, hurry up and get it done so that we can have high-paying American jobs. On the other hand, well, we don't have enough visas and we don't have enough this and we don't have enough that. So the South Koreans brought their workers over anyway to get it done. And from my understanding, they believed that their workers would be fine because they were brought over here to do a specific job that the government, the United States government, wanted done. And of course, the next thing you know, I don't know, I saw that a MAGA candidate found out about the staff and made a phone call and said, oh, there are illegals here or something like this. And that's how all this started, but I'm not sure if that's accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please, Mark.
I don't know. I don't know if it's accurate. Who knows? So from Mike from Atlanta, Georgia, I'll make this real simple without a whole big dissertation under this. Yes, it's going to sour relations between the U.S. and our close allies, the South Koreans. Yes, it's going to make other countries that want to bring in manufacturing to the United States, it's going to make them think twice about it, plain and simple. Absolutely. And yes, the Democrats should use it in Georgia to retake Georgia. Hey, Georgia, you could have some really nice jobs there. Let's remember they were building the plant. The plant is not done. So you have basically a half-finished plant that you can't get anybody to go to work at. It's kind of a simple one. Now the question is, are the Democrats smart enough to use this against the Republicans in Georgia? And if they are, then they have a very good chance of being able to take back Georgia. And other countries, hey, please, other countries out there that are thinking about coming here, the Germans, all of them, all should be looking at this and citing this incident as to why you're not coming.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know if the Democrats will have the, and I'm sorry about the long explanation. I don't know if the Democrats can get the messaging together. That's what has troubled me. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is so stupid. Trump has lost manufacturing jobs since he has been in office, which is hardly a surprise.
Well, to that Georgian that maybe made that phone call, that potential candidate, whoever it might have been,
good job.
The bottom line is that you cut your nose off to spite your face. Done.
Yeah, which is exactly what Trump has been doing throughout his entire presidency. So no, other countries, don't invest here. Go someplace else. Do not subject your workers to coming here. Go someplace else. Go to Canada. Go someplace else. I mean, and if we lose our allies, then we lose our allies. I mean, I'm sorry, but people, you cannot appease Trump. You cannot appease him. You should not even bother to try. I mean, you're dealing with this man. There is something wrong with him mentally, obviously. And anybody who supports and enables him.
You're stupid. There, we're done.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Georgia, that was one of the real big success stories of the Biden administration and the Inflation Reduction Act or the CHIPS Act, where they were getting, I guess it was an Inflation Reduction Act, where they were getting solar panels made in Georgia, right, which is Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. And the company, Q-Cells, is the one who is building them here in the United States, was hiring people. They were building one of the largest factories in America. They had to stop building the factory because they got held up by the tariff regime of all this equipment that they needed, which are inputs for the factory, right? And it's really important to understand that one of the worst things that Trump is doing right now is he's putting tariffs on inputs and raising the cost of building factories, which is ultimately going to defeat manufacturing in America, because if you can't build a factory, you can't manufacture anything. And this company said, we're going to eventually make all of this stuff in the United States. now we need to import it, and we're importing it from South Korea and Malaysia. And the Trump administration said, no, these components come from China. And they said they do not come from China. They come from South Korea and Malaysia. And they got held up anyway. Because of this enormous factory, which is the town of Dalton, Georgia, is now sitting there idle. And the same thing is happening in this LG Hyundai plant, sitting idle. And these guys are probably not coming back, because why would you? And Hyundai probably is going to give this up, because why would you continue this? If you want to bring manufacturing back to America, you're going to have to allow them to build the factories first. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to succeed. And it is just an incoherent policy that has not been thought out. And it doesn't matter what Scott Bessent and Trump and Howard Nutlick say when they're on TV. None of this stuff is adding up to anything good for America. And voters in Georgia, you better pay attention. Voters in America, you better pay attention. The farm suffering, the construction is ground to a halt on factories because nobody could afford to build factories anymore. And there are no workers to do it anyway because they've all been deported or sent to South Sudan or Uganda. I mean, this is freaking madness. And again, in one earlier segment that we taped today, we were talking about how weak Trump is, and yet he's marching around Washington, D.C. like a little strumpet, telling people to get out of his way and kicking people out of restaurants because they're yelling at him. He's acting like a tough guy, but he is anything but a tough guy. And he's acting like a smart businessman. He's anything but a smart businessman. And people better catch on to these contradictions in the guy you thought he was, he ain't. And, Epstein is another proof point, this whole thing with the book and all that kind of stuff. These are proof points that should lead you to understand that this is not who you thought he was.
And to those good voters of Dalton, Georgia, you got what you deserved. Sorry to say it.
Yeah. Well, and Trump and Putin use the same kind of excuse. Well, Trump and Putin use the same kind of excuse for this drawing that Trump has. Well, he's allegedly done because he says he didn't do it. I didn't. That's not my signature. I don't speak like that. And Putin with these drones. We did that, or that was a mistake, or whatever it was. Like the green men in Crimea. Those aren't Russian. No, I don't know anything about that. It's the same type of thing.
Denying that you did something wrong is not exactly a novel approach to anything, But and that's all they're doing. They're just denying it. But look, again, I want to get back to the factory. The factories in Georgia. It's interesting that a couple of these factories are in Georgia that are really just were supposed to be such great success stories and have now been turned into absolutely miserable failures. Dude, that's what this is. That's what you got. That's what you voted for. Like Mark says, that's what you voted for, Dalton, Georgia. You voted for failure, and now you got it. How's that taste?
And you know what your representative, Marjorie Taylor Greene, was doing today? Putting up on front of the wall of her office the signatures of the Epstein thing. I didn't see her doing anything to help you guys out to get this factory back and up and running. So congratulations, Dalton, Georgia.
Yeah.
We always try to speak well of our fellow Americans, but you know what? I'm sorry. I always say you get the government you deserve. Dalton, Georgia, you got it. You wanted it, you got it. There you go.
South Korea get their money back that they invested in this factory?
That's the South Korea. Hyundai doesn't care.
They don't care?
Maybe they do, but that's a moot. I mean, that's down the road. I mean, what they want to do is they want to build.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't bother with it now.
Well, we'll see. I mean, if they got enough money in it, they're gonna stick with it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, we will see. But it's I was before we started, I was looking at protesters in South Korea who are very angry, and they're saying they cut ties with the States. We don't need an alliance. We don't want an alliance, and this is a travesty, and this is terrible, and it just should stop.
Honey's going to say, "Hey, let's go talk to the Chinese."
Mm-hmm.
So wait, I do it because Brooke wrote this up before and it did ring a bell. But I wanted to I want to fill in the details. The name of the woman who dropped dime on this factory, who claims she tipped off federal immigration authorities about all the Korean workers at the Hyundai plant in Georgia, is Tori Branham, a former U.S. Marine who accepts the online moniker of MAGA Karen and is running for the 12th district in Congress in Georgia. Okay, Tori Branham.
Any relations to the Philly Karen?
The Philly Karen, right? It's a similar type of person.
There you go.
Like grab a ball out of a little boy because oh my God,
this is who you got.
Hey Georgia, do the right thing about Tori Branham, would you?
Yeah, send her packet. All right. I think we got that one done.
Mike, if you disagree with what's going on there, go ahead and raise your voice and become as active as you feel comfortable with, speaking out against what you feel is happening that is wrong. So thank you for your question and for spending some time with us today on the Nova Society, and thank you to all our listeners. If you are not yet subscribed on the platform of your choice, please do so. Subscribing is free, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Nova Society.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!